The alarms rang through the grand hall of the Galactic Council, a sound no one had heard in 1,000 years. Delegates from 100 worlds froze in their seats as red lights flashed across the chamber walls. The Supreme Chancellor's voice trembled as he read the urgent message. Human children were attacked. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Every species in the galaxy knew the first law: never harm a human child. That law was older than most star empires. It was not a suggestion. It was survival. Because humans did not forgive. They did not forget. And when they burned entire stars with them. On the far side of the hall, voices erupted. "This is a lie," shouted a council member with scaled skin, his golden eyes flashing with fear. No one would dare break the first law. Another delegate slammed his claws on the table. "Then explain this," he growled as the screens lit up with images of a smoking human settlement, small homes torn apart, and bodies, tiny bodies lying still in the dust. A shiver passed through the room. The culprits were clear. A splinter group from the Karth Dominion. A rogue fleet, the report said. Acting without orders, they claimed. But it didn't matter. The law had been broken. Blood had been spilled. And the blood belonged to human children. "They will come," whispered an old, feathered ambassador. His voice shook like brittle leaves. "They always do." A young delegate laughed harshly, trying to hide his fear. "Humans are few. They have no grand fleets. Their world is a single blue marble among billions. What can they do?" The old ambassador turned his black eyes on him. "You are too young to remember the burning of Varel Prime," he said softly. "I was there. I saw what humans did to an empire 10 times their size. Because someone hurt. They're young." The laughter died not far away on Earth. The president of the Terran Union stood in silence as his advisors spoke, voices trembling with rage. The images played again, the broken homes, the bodies, the small hand gripping a torn blanket. No one in the room breathed. At last, President Eric Vance spoke. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "They think the law is just words." He said, "They think time made us weak. They forgot what we are." His hand tightened into a fist. "Prepare the fleet." Orders spread like fire across Earth and its colonies. Shipyards roared to life. Massive engines woke from their cold slumber. Dreadnoughts, carriers, stealth destroyers, war machines older species had dismissed as relics now gleamed under floodlights. Soldiers marched in silence, their faces hard as iron. They did not shout. They did not cheer. This was not war for conquest. This was vengeance. Back in the council hall, panic grew. Messages flashed across every channel. Human fleets mobilizing. Outer sectors falling silent. Patrols vanishing without a trace. "They can't move this fast," cried one counselor, slamming his metallic fists on the table. "They don't have the numbers." But deep inside, they knew. Humans didn't need numbers. They needed only a reason. And now they had one. The Supreme Chancellor called for calm, his voice cracking. "We will offer reparations, apologies, a public trial for the Karth rebels." "Too late," someone whispered. "They've already chosen blood over words." The chamber doors burst open as a trembling aide rushed in, eyes wide with terror. "Report from Vega Prime," he gasped. "3 of our fleets? Gone, completely destroyed." A ripple of shock swept through the room. Someone whispered the word they all feared: retaliation. And this was only the beginning. On Earth's flagship, the Iron Resolve, Captain Elara Miles stared at the holomap glowing before her. Dozens of red markers alien systems blinked under her gaze. Her jaw tightened. She remembered the pictures from the colony, the tiny faces, the stillness. She gave the order, her voice cold as the void. Jump the fleet. Let them see what fire and fury really mean. As the stars stretched into streaks, Ilara looked out at the dark sea of space. In her heart, there was no mercy left. They had broken the law, and now the law would burn with them. The galaxy had forgotten what humans were capable of. It was time to remind them. And far beyond, in the core worlds of the Council, millions looked up at their skies, at the empty black above their glowing cities, and wondered when the shadows would fall. None of them knew it yet, but the storm had already begun. Next came a voice, quiet but sharp as a blade, carried across encrypted human channels. President Vance spoke only 4 words. No negotiations, no survivors. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the first alien fleet exploded into flames. Asterisk, the stars over Vega Prime were calm, a sea of silver lights against endless darkness. Patrol ships drifted lazily in orbit, their crews bored and half asleep. For weeks, the Galactic Council had told them the humans were bluffing, that they would protest, send angry messages, maybe withdraw from trade but war? No, not from humans. They were too few, too reasonable, too civilized. That illusion shattered in one blinding instant. The first ship didn't explode with sound. There was only light aflash, like a second sun, before the patrol frigate vanished in a silent bloom of fire. Then another, and another. One by one, ships winked out of existence, torn apart by weapons the galaxy had not seen in centuries. The last patrol captain screamed into the comms, "We're under attack." Unknown, before his voice cut to static. His ship turned into a burning husk, breaking apart like paper in the void. On the surface of Vega Prime, people looked up to see streaks of orange fire raining down from the night sky. Pieces of their own warships fell like meteors, crashing into oceans, mountains, and cities. Panic ripped through the population as alarms wailed. The sky turned red with the reflection of distant explosions. And then, through the chaos, came a message. 4 words, spoken in every language, broadcast on every channel. This is for them. Far away, aboard the dreadnought Iron Resolve, Captain Ilara Miles watched the destruction in silence. The Vega system had been one of the strongest defensive hubs of the Council's outer rim. Now it was nothing but debris and glowing embers. Ilara's crew stood stiff at their stations, their faces grim. No cheers, no celebration. Just quiet. Fury and duty. For a moment, Ilara closed her eyes. She saw the images again, the small bodies, the torn blankets, the tiny shoes covered in ash. That memory burned hotter than any sun. "Target secured," said the tactical officer, his voice steady. "What are your orders, Captain?" Ilara opened her eyes and stared at the holomap. The next target pulsed read a major supply depot, feeding 3 Council fleets. Her voice was cold, sharp as a blade. "Jump to Mornas. No survivors." As the engines roared and space folded around them, human comms filled with brief, clipped voices. Dozens of fleets moving as one, each assigned to a different strike zone. No long speeches. No grand declarations. Just coordinates, confirmations. And silence. It wasn't war in the old sense. It was something colder. Something the galaxy had never faced before vengeance without limits. Meanwhile, in the heart of Council space, fear spread like wildfire. The Supreme Chancellor slammed, his claws on the Council table. How did they strike so fast? He roared, his jeweled robes shaking. Advisors muttered theories, stealth technology, sleeper fleets, unknown weapons. One pale-skinned diplomat whispered, almost to herself, "They've been preparing for this. All these years, they've been waiting." Another voice hissed back, "For what? To destroy us all?" The chamber fell silent as the first casualty reports arrived. Vega Prime obliterated. 93 ships lost. 23,000 dead. They won't stop there, said an old counselor, feathers trembling. This is only the beginning. Far from their voices, in a hidden chamber deep beneath the council hall, someone else was watching the reports. Zarin, a young diplomat from the Lethari species, stared at the screens in horror. The images of burning cities twisted in her gut. She had studied humans. She had warned the council this might happen if the law was broken. No one listened. Now, the galaxy was paying the price. This isn't justice, she whispered. This is annihilation. But even as she spoke, something inside her shifted. A strange thought bloomed, a thought that scared her more than the fire raining across worlds. Maybe the humans are right. She turned to her assistant, voice urgent. Get me a secure channel to their fleet. Now. If she didn't act, entire civilizations would vanish in flames. But the assistant hesitated, his eyes wide. You'll be branded a traitor. Zarin cut him off with a hiss. Do it, before there's nothing left to save. On the iron. Resolve. Ilara Miles stood on the command deck, watching as another alien system burned. Her comms officer approached, nervous. Captain, we're getting a direct transmission. From the council. Ilara's lips curled in a bitter smile. Now they want to talk. She walked to the console and opened the channel. The screen flickered, revealing an alien face framed by silver markings and glowing eyes. Zarin. Captain, the alien said softly. Please listen to me. If you continue this, the galaxy will drown in blood. But if you stop now, I can help you find the ones who gave the order. The real culprits. I swear it. Ilara stared at her for a long moment, her eyes hard as steel. You expect me to trust you? Zarin's voice trembled, but her gaze didn't waver. You don't have to trust me. Just listen. Before it's too late. Behind Ilara, the tactical officer spoke quietly. Captain, we've got the firing solution. Your orders? Ilara stared at her for a long moment, her eyes hard as steel. You expect me to trust you? Zarin's voice trembled, but her gaze didn't waver. You don't have to trust me. Just listen. Before it's too late. Behind Ilara, the tactical officer spoke quietly. Captain, we've got the firing solution. Your orders? Ilara's fingers hovered over the command panel, ready to unleash fire on another world. Her jaw tightened. The face on the screen waited, silent and desperate. And then the alarm screamed. Captain! The sensor chief shouted. Multiple enemy fleets inbound. We're surrounded. Ilara's eyes widened as the stars outside filled with shapes alien warships cropping out of FTL, weapons glowing like suns. Battle stations. She roared as the first volley of fire lit up the void. Asterisk, the first sound was not an explosion. It was a soft, rising hum that drifted through the skies of Elysian Prime like wind over glass. People in the capital city paused, staring upward in confusion. The twin suns burned bright over crystal towers, casting long shadows on streets paved with silver light. For a moment, it was beautiful. Almost peaceful dot, then the sky ripped open. A black shape burst through the clouds, a leviathan of steel, and fire blotting out the suns. Then another, and another. Dozens of human warships fell from orbit like hunting birds. Their hulls gleamed dark and cold, their engines roaring like thunder. Alarms screamed across the city. Mothers clutched their children. Council guards drew weapons they knew would never matter. The hum turned into a roar as the first human dreadnought locked its guns on the capital. On the ground, a young alien girl named Syra ran to her balcony and looked up. Her mother dragged her back inside, sobbing. In the distance, the sky turned. White as something massive fell from orbit burning brighter than both suns. Then the shockwave hit, Glass shattered. Towers crumbled. Screams filled the air as the heart of Elysian Prime erupted in a storm of fire and smoke in orbit. Captain Alara Miles stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, her face like carved stone. The alien world below glowed with color-blue oceans. Green fields, spires of silver, but now all she saw was red. The firing orders were ready. The voice of the Supreme Commander crackled through her calm. Show them what happens when they harm ours. Alara hesitated for a single heartbeat. Just one. Then she gave the order. The main cannons lit up the void, beams of white fire slashing through the atmosphere. Cities vanished in seconds. Entire defense grids burned out before they could fire. A single shot. The planet trembled as shockwaves ripped through continents. Millions screamed. Millions went silent. The beauty of Elysian Prime became a graveyard under a black sky in the council hall. Chaos exploded as reports came in. Our fleets are shattered. They've reached the core. Elysian Prime is burning. The Supreme Chancellor's scales shimmered with sweat as he screamed into the chamber, "Stop them! Stop the humans now!" But no one moved. No one knew how. Fear gripped every delegate like iron chains. Amid the shouting, one voice cut through soft but steady. Zyron stepped forward, her silver markings glowing faintly under the hall lights. "You brought this on us," she said. "You broke the first law, and now you expect them to forgive? They won't." Her words hit like a blade. Some hissed. In anger, others turned away in shame. Zyron didn't care. She had already made her choice. Minutes later, she was aboard a private shuttle, engines roaring as she broke from the council spire. The city burned beneath her, a river of flames winding through streets that once glittered like stars. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. There was only one path left to reach the human fleet before the galaxy drowned in fire. Meanwhile, on the Iron Resolve, Alara stared at the holomap as Elysian Prime dimmed from green to crimson marked as neutralized. Her crew said nothing. Their silence was heavier than words. When the last defense tower fell, the comm officer spoke. "Captain, incoming transmission. Priority 1, it's her again." Alara's jaw tightened. "Put her through." The screen flickered, and Zyron's face appeared framed by smoke and fire. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with something fierce. "You think this will end it? It won't. For every world you burn, 10 more will rise against you. But I can give you what you want, the names, the proof, the ones who ordered. The attack on your children." Her voice dropped, raw with urgency. "Please, Alara, listen to me, or this galaxy will bleed until nothing is left." Alara's hands curled into fists. Behind her, alarms pulsed softly as sensors picked up movement, another alien fleet racing toward their position. The comm officer's voice broke the silence. "Captain, they're coming. Thousands of ships. If we stay, we'll be surrounded." The bridge trembled as the first shockwave rippled through the void. Distant flashes lit the darkness enemy warships, dropping from FTL like falling stars. "Shields up!" Alara roared, her voice echoing through the command deck. The crew scrambled, metal boots pounding against the floor as klaxons wailed. Outside the viewport, the black ocean of space turned into fire, and in the middle of the chaos, Alara's eyes locked on Zyron's. The alien didn't flinch. "Choose now," she whispered. "Vengeance or survival." The channel cut, and the stars exploded into war. Asterisk, the war was loud in every corner of the galaxy except here. In the dark silence between stars, a single human ship drifted like a shadow, lights off, engines cold. Waiting inside the Iron Resolve, the crew barely spoke. Every sound, every footstep felt like it echoed through a graveyard. They had just survived the biggest ambush of the war. Dozens of enemy ships burned behind them, but the cost was high. Human destroyers were gone, thousands dead, and for the first time since this began, Captain Alara Miles felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel out. Her hands gripped the edge of the table as the holomap flickered. It showed the entire sector, glowing red with enemy signatures, and then a single blinking icon, their new target. The Supreme Commander's voice came through like ice. Phase 2 begins now. No negotiations. Execute Operation Ghost. Alara stared at the blinking icon. It wasn't a planet this time. It was a name, a living target, one of the masterminds behind the attack on human children. The plan was simple: erase them, and anyone who stood in the way. No trials, no mercy. Just death. The silence broke with a soft chime. A transmission request. Ilara's jaw tightened. She already knew who it was. She nodded to her comms officer. Put her through. The screen came alive with Zyron's face. Her silver markings were dim now, her voice low and urgent. You think killing names on a list will end this? She said. It won't. Earn one leader, another will rise, and then another, until the galaxy is nothing but ash. Alara didn't answer. Her eyes were cold, but something flickered deep inside them. Zyron saw it. She pressed harder. You want the truth? The Council didn't just break the law, they planned this war. They needed a reason to unite the fractured empires. They thought humans would back down. But now, she hesitated, her voice trembling. Now they're afraid. Afraid because you've shown them what you really are. The captain's voice was steel. What we are, she said, is what they made us. Zyron leaned closer, her eyes glowing faintly. No, you're more than vengeance. I can help you prove it. I can give you the evidence, the messages, the secret votes, the war orders, everything. But you'll have to trust me. For the first time in days, Alara laughed a sharp, bitter sound. Trust an alien? When your kind butchered our children? Her voice cracked like a whip. Give me one reason not to end this call and end you. Zyron didn't flinch. Her answer was quiet, almost a whisper. Because if you don't, Earth will burn next. The words hit like a blade. Alara's eyes narrowed. Explain. The transmission shifted to a new screen classified data, stolen from the Council. Vaults, a weapon schematic, pulsing in red. Zyron's voice trembled. They've built something, a planet killer, and it's already armed. Asterisk, the bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the screen as the image rotated, a weapon bigger than anything in known space, a cannon fused to a hollowed asteroid, capable of wiping out entire worlds in one shot. Where? Alara demanded. Zyron hesitated, then spoke. Deep in the Orion Rift, hidden under the Black Sun Nebula. Only the High Council knows the access codes. Her voice hardened. I can get you there. But if you keep bombing worlds, they'll fire it before you arrive. For a long moment, the only sound was the low hum of the ship's systems. Alara turned away from the screen, walking slowly toward the viewport. Outside, the stars shimmered, like distant eyes, watching, judging. Captain, said her first officer quietly, if she's lying, this is a trap. Ilara's fists clenched. Her voice was flat, stripped of all warmth. If she's telling the truth, and we ignore it, Earth dies. Behind her, Zyron spoke again, softer now. Let me come aboard. Let me prove I'm not your enemy. Alara turned, her face unreadable. For a moment, their eyes locked, two warriors born from different worlds, bound by blood and fire. Then Alara spoke, her voice low but cutting. Dock at Bay 3. Try anything, and you'll wish your world burned faster. The channel closed. Minutes later, the docking alarm sounded. A sleek alien shuttle glided through the bay doors. its hull shimmering like liquid silver. Armed guards lined the corridor. As the airlock hissed open, Xiren stepped out slowly, hands raised, her glowing eyes sweeping over the silent human soldiers, pointing rifles at her heart. She smiled faintly, though her voice was tight with fear. "You have no idea what you've started," she whispered. Neither did she, because deep in the Orion Rift, far beyond their reach, the weapon stirred. Power hummed through its colossal frame as its targeting systems locked on one word: Earth, asterisk, the thee. Air inside the iron resolve was cold and sharp, like the edge of a blade. Human soldiers lined the corridors, rifles raised, their eyes locked on the lone alien walking between them. Xiren moved slowly, every step echoing against the steel floor. Her silver markings glowed faintly in the dim light, a beacon in a place. That felt like a tuned-out Captain Alara Miles watched from the command deck, her face carved in stone. Around her, officers worked in silence, their eyes flicking between the alien and their captain. Some wanted to kill Xiren where she stood. Others said nothing but kept their hands close to their weapons. When Xiren finally entered the command chamber, she paused under the gaze of a dozen rifles. Her voice was calm, though her heart pounded like a war drum. "If you still plan to kill me," she said softly, "do it now. Because if we waste another minute, Earth will die." Alara stepped forward, closing the distance between them. For a long moment, the two women stared at each other, two enemies bound by the same fire. Then Alara spoke, her voice low and hard. "Talk." Xiren placed the data crystal on the table. "The weapon is real. It's called the Judgment Core. It feeds on the energy of collapsing stars. When it fires, it won't just kill a planet. It will erase it. No atmosphere, no oceans, just dust." She pressed the crystal, and the hollow image appeared a black structure floating inside the Orion Rift, its surface crawling with energy like veins of molten gold. It looked alive. Ilara's jaw tightened. "How long before it fires?" Xiren hesitated. Her glowing eyes met Ilara's. 3 days. Maybe less. A silence fell over the room, heavy as iron. The humans had burned worlds to send a message. And now that message had come back like a blade aimed at Earth's heart. The Supreme Commander's voice cut through the calm, cold and merciless. "Destroy the weapon at any cost. And if the alien betrays you, end her." Alara killed the channel without answering. Her fists clenched at her sides. She turned to Xiren. "You're going with us. You're leading us there." Xiren nodded. Slowly, but inside, fear twisted like a knife, because she hadn't told Alara the whole truth. The weapon wasn't just guarded. It was shielded by fleets, entire armadas, and by something worse. Something even Xiren was afraid to name. Hours later, the Iron Resolve slipped into the Black Sun Nebula, its hull cloaked in shadow. The rift was a graveyard of light and darkness, a maze of shattered moons and glowing gas clouds that hid the me. Weapon deep inside. The ship moved like a ghost, sensors sweeping the void. "Contacts," the sensor chief whispered. Multiple signatures. Dozens, no hundreds. The holomap bloomed with red icons. Alien warships drifting like predators in the fog. Ilara's voice was steel. Silent running. "Prepare boarding teams. If we can't destroy it from here, we take it from inside." The ship glided closer, deeper into the rift. And then the weapon appeared a shape so vast it blotted out the stars. It hung in the void like a black god, its surface pulsing with rivers of golden light, its core glowing like the heart of a dying sun. Even the battle-hardened humans stared in silence. "That's not a weapon," someone whispered. "That's a world killer." And then, without warning, alarm screamed. The Iron Resolve shuddered as beams of white energy slashed through the nebula. Enemy ships burst from the fog sleek, fast, and armed for war. Hundreds of them, shields up. Alara roared as the ship shook under the first barrage. All hands to battle stations. The void exploded with fire. Human railguns spat tungsten slugs at near-light speed, ripping through enemy cruisers. Plasma bolts streaked across the dark like falling stars. The Black Sun Nebula became a storm of flame and death. Amid the chaos, Ilara slammed her fist on the console. "Get me the alien." Zyron appeared on the com, her voice ragged with urgency. "We can't fight them all. We have to slip through the shield corridor at the base of the weapon now." The ship dove hard, engines screaming as it cut through a wall of wreckage. Debris slammed into the hull. Explosions blossomed on every side. The crew fought to keep control as enemy fire tore into their armor. Then came the voice that froze Ilara's. "Blood, human fleet." A deep, cold tone said across every channel. "You wanted war. You wanted vengeance. Now you will have extinction." It wasn't a council voice. It wasn't even alien. It was something else, something ancient. Zyron's face turned pale as the sound filled the ship. Her voice cracked. "No, it's awake." The Judgment Core pulsed like a living heart. And for the first time, Ilara Miles felt fear burn through her rage. The Judgment Core pulsed in the void like the eye of a god. Golden rivers of energy crawled across its black surface, lighting up the nebula in an unholy glow. Every heartbeat of that machine felt alive. Every surge of power shook the stars. And then came the voice again, deep, ancient, merciless. "Children of flesh, you burn your worlds for vengeance. Now burn with them." The core's outer shell cracked open, revealing a chamber of light that spun like a dying sun. Energy flared outward, brighter than any star, and the targeting systems locked on Earth. The countdown began in a voice colder than the void. 60 seconds to discharge. Inside the iron resolve, alarms screamed. The bridge was chaos sparks, raining from the ceiling, consoles shattering under enemy fire. Outside, human and alien ships ripped each other apart in waves of flame. The nebula burned with the wreckage of fleets. Status. Ilara shouted over the roar. Her first officer's voice broke through the static. "Shields gone. Engines at 30%. If we don't act now..." He didn't finish. Another blast ripped through the hull, throwing bodies across the deck. Zyron staggered toward Ilara, clutching her side where blood dark and shimmering poured through her fingers. "The core," she gasped, forcing the words out. "You can't destroy it from here. Its heart is inside. You have to cut the control lattice." Manually, Ilara stared at her. "That's a suicide run." Zyron's glowing eyes locked on hers. "I didn't say you had to do it." She smiled faintly, blood on her teeth. "But I will." For a second, the war, the fire, the hatred, everything stopped. Ilara saw not an enemy, not an alien, but someone standing in the same storm, willing to die for something more than herself, for life. "No," Ilara said, her voice sharp. "If anyone does this, it's me." She ripped the plasma blade from the weapons rack, its blue light burning against the smoke. Her crew stared in silence, knowing there was no time to argue. Zyron's hand shot out, gripping Ilara's wrist with surprising strength. Her voice was a whisper. "You don't understand. The core, it was built by my ancestors. Its locks respond to our blood. Without me, you'll never reach the heart." Ilara froze. Then she nodded once short, sharp, like a blade cutting hair. "Then we do it together." The docking bay doors tore open, exposing the chaos outside wreckage. Fire, enemy ships closing in like wolves. Ilara and Zyron strapped into a boarding pod, its hull rattling as it launched into the storm. The pod spun through fire and darkness, debris slamming against its shields. When it hit the core's surface, the metal screamed like a dying beast dot inside the weapon. The air was alive with energy light crawling across black walls, humming with a sound that wasn't just mechanical. It felt like breathing, like something awake. They ran through corridors that bent like veins, deeper and deeper, until they reached the heart dot. It was a sphere of pure light, suspended in darkness, pulsing like a star caught in chains. The voice filled the chamber, louder now, almost furious. "You dare touch eternity?" Elara ignored it. She drove the plasma blade into the lattice of glowing conduits. Sparks erupted. The structure howled. The countdown hit 10 seconds. Zirin staggered forward, blood trailing behind her. Her hands pressed against the lattice, silver markings blazing as the core systems flared red. Her voice was soft, almost like a prayer. "I was raised to believe this weapon was our god, but today I break it." The core screamed. Light exploded in a flood so bright it swallowed everything. When Elara opened her eyes, there was only silence. The heart of the core lay shattered, its golden veins dim. Zirin was slumped against the wall, her body still, her glowing eyes closed forever. Elara crawled to her side, her throat tight, her breath breaking. She touched Zirin's cold hand, gripping it like an anchor in a sea of death. "You saved?" "You see," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "You saved everyone." Behind her, the structure groaned as explosions ripped through its core. Elara rose slowly, her shadow falling across Zirin's still face. There was no time for words, no time for grief. The galaxy was burning, and she had to live for both of them. The last thing she saw before the escape pod launched was the core, collapsing in on itself, a sun dying in silence, taking fleets and fire with it. Days later, the galaxy watched the message that shattered the war. It was Elara, standing before the ruins of the Judgment Core. Her voice was cold, but her eyes burned, with something deeper than hate. "The first law was broken," she said, "but this war ends now. No more children in graves, no more burning worlds. You want peace? Earn it, because if you come for us again, remember Elysian Prime. Remember the Rift. Remember what happens when humans fight for their own." The transmission ended far beyond the stars. Whispers began of a human captain and an alien who died to stop a god. Of a bond forged in fire, stronger than hate. And in the quiet black between suns, the galaxy held its breath, knowing this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The end